Thank you for tuning in and welcome to Errant painting. This is another Nurgle painting video, and today we are going to put some paint on some rat flies and riders, some what you call them, plague drones of Nurgle. And I originally planned to do 6, but I ran out of primer, so I only managed to prime 3. But for the purpose of the video, we're just going to look at 1. But I will be painting the others in assembly line. The first thing I should mention is I primed with Corax white spray, and this is a great primer for the amounts of shades we're going to put on without any other base coats. The first thing I want to do is take some Estonian camo shade and put this all over the miniature except for the wing membranes and the base. It doesn't matter if we hit the membranes and the base, but yeah, well. And I'm looking for a nice even coat. I should also mention that I did not glue the rider on, so I can take him off if I have trouble getting underneath him. Now that the wash has dried, we're ready to have another go at Estonian camo shade, but this time only for the plague bearer. Now, some Agrax earth shade, and this is for the carapace of the fly, but also the claws and the horns and claws of the rider. I'm starting with a medium glazed brush, and then as I need to, I'll move to a bigger brush. I want the brown color to be a bit stronger, but before we add a second coat of Agrax earth shade, I'm gonna take some sandry dust, give it a good shake, and get some out on the palette. And this is for the new can. This is for the wing membranes and also the entirety of the base. With that done, we're gonna pop off the plague bearer, and shade over everything except the skin of the fly with Agrax earth shade. And now I want to take some Seraphim Sabia, and this is for the skin of the fly. With that fully dry, I want to take some Tamanatsu stone and dry brush the entirety of the rat fly. And this should be a great highlight for all the colors. And I'm focusing this mainly on the wing membranes and the base, but as said, I'm gonna dry brush all over. You can see I've popped the rider back on, and that's because now we're gonna highlight his flesh, and for that we're gonna use Nurgle green. So, and this is just a quick and dirty highlight. Get some out on the palette. Take it down. I'm looking for stuff like his knuckles, the most exposed areas, like here. Top of his head. Also sharp edges, like here. Next up, I'm gonna wash over all the open wounds with Current Crimson, and I'll also apply this to the inside of the mouths on the fly. Next, I'm gonna pick out all the blisters and boils with orange brown from Vallejo. That took forever. And now I'm gonna take some Flash Cut Yellow and dot every little boil with a tiny dot of yellow. With that done, we're ready to paint in his sword. And for that, I'll take some Typhus Corrosion and use it straight out of the pot. And sometimes it's necessary to apply 2 coats of this. I'm using an old beat up brush, by the way, because Typhus Corrosion is not nice to your brushes. With the Typhus Corrosion dry, I'm gonna take some Reese of Rust and put it on the blade. And I'll focus this mainly on the tip, and I'm dry brushing it on. And that's the Plague Sword done. Next up, we're gonna paint in the eyes. And for that, we're gonna take some Palette Switch Flash. Which is drying up on me, as light Games Workshop paints have a tendency to do. Dilute it with plenty of water. And starting with the big eyes on the fly. Next up, I'm gonna take a tiny bit of Model Color Black And this is just to dot a pupil in the eye of the rider. Next, I'm gonna paint in all the teeth with the sharp bone. And that's the teeth of the rider, the fly, and the little mouth on the bottom end of the fly. Next up, I'm gonna wash over the eyes and the teeth with Seraphim Sepia. Next, I'll glaze over the ratfly's eyes with the Waywatcher green. And I'll give this several coats to get a nice insectoid green look. I've given the eyes 4 coats of Waywatcher green, and now I find the color is strong enough, and later when we add some art coat over it, they'll be nice and glossed. Well, next thing is to paint in the puddles and the bases. And for that I'll use Caliban green as seen as in the Nurgle basing video. And this is pretty straightforward. Next I'm gonna take some dried bark, and this is for the base trim and the flying stand. Or pin, or whatever you want to call it. And after that, it's time to give the model an all-over coat of matte varnish, of course, matte varnish. And when that is done, we can add the gloss effects. So, now that the model has been given a coat of matte varnish from Vallejo, we're ready to add some gloss effects. And the first one is really easy. It's just some art coat over the eyes. Next up, I'm gonna take some Nurgle's rod, and we're gonna use quite a lot of this. There'll be a single coat on all the boils on the rider and the fly, as well as 3 or 4 coats on the puddles and the bases. And I might also add a bit to the open mouths of the rider, not the rider, the mount. And finally, we're gonna add some blood for the blood guard, and this is just for the open wounds on the rider, not on the fly, because using too much of this can really ruin a paint job. So, apply in moderation. And here we have them. 3 playgrounds ready for the battlefield. I have another 3 to paint up, with the leader and the banner and the bell guy. But now I can use this video as a reference, so I can get them to match, which is quite nifty. I'm happy with them. They turned out like I planned, which is always nice. I really like how many details there are on these models, and how many of the details that lends themselves well to the way I paint Nurgle demons. If you want to see more, I have a whole playlist with the Nurgle demons and Death Guard, and also a video where I show in detail how I make the bases. So yeah, check that out. I'll be sure to pop a link up in the corner. And on that, not much else to say. I hope you enjoyed this, hope you found it useful, and take care, and bye bye.